All right, let's speak now to Mark Regev. He, of course, is a spokesperson for the Israeli government, and he joins us also from Jerusalem. Mr. Regev, can I first of all start by asking you, can Israel get rid of Hamas's firepower from Gaza without actually going in on the ground?
It's a good question. I think the best way I could answer that is we'd want the people in Hamas and the other extremist groups to understand it's simply not in their interest to shoot rockets at Israeli civilians, that they will indeed, as terrorists, pay a very high price for that policy. And that's what we're trying to do now. We're attacking their command and control, we're attacking their weapon storage systems, we're attacking their arsenal, which is formidable, and you're correct. The Iranian government has spent a lot of money, time and effort to build up a very formidable military machine in Gaza, and the fact that they have rockets that can reach the Tel Aviv area is not new. We've known this for quite some time. They have military-grade ground-to-ground rockets, and this is just, I think, shows us all that Israel has to take steps to protect our civilian population.
But it's going to be, the question is going to be what steps? Because as our reporter Jackie Rowland was saying, in Gaza, the rockets that are being fired from the Strip, many of them are launched by remote control. The fighters who control those rockets aren't at the site when you launch your retaliatory airstrikes. You might actually hit some of the hardware on the ground, but you don't take out the fighters. Therefore, I again ask you, if you're going to actually neutralise Hamas's firepower, you are going to have to go in on the ground, aren't you? You can't do it. It's being shown you cannot do it by airstrikes alone.
I think we follow Hamas very closely. Our intelligence is pretty good, and I think we have all sorts of options, including that option of sending in ground forces. But Jackie also said something that I think passed you by, and it was very significant. Jackie said they'd launched a rocket from the middle of Gaza City. What does that mean? That means Hamas is deliberately turning civilian areas into a war zone. You know, that's an international war crime, to shoot rockets out of civilian neighborhoods using the surrounding civilian population as a human shield. Where is the outrage? Where are the human rights groups? Here you have Hamas, a terrorist group recognized as such by the European Union, Canada, the United States, Japan, deliberately putting Gaza's civilians into danger, using them as human shields. I ask you, where is the outrage?
But this is, you know, I hate to say it, this is the same age-old argument that is always coming from both sides of the border. Who is striking who first, etc., the retaliation, the tit for tat, whether civilians are being deliberately targeted.
That's incorrect. I didn't say that at all.
No, but that is an age-old argument from both sides.
I said as a fact, and you reported it yourself. They are shooting.
Yeah, I'm not denying what Jackie said. No, I'm not denying what Jackie has said.
It's ridiculous.
But what I'm saying is, what I'm trying to get to the nub of is what is actually going to stop this. I mean, you're obviously calling for Hamas to stop it. Hamas is saying that you're actually, you know, by targeting their fighters, you're also targeting civilians. I know you say that they're hiding behind civilians, but what is actually, you have the firepower, you have the military capability far more than Hamas has. What is it going to take to actually stop what is happening on the ground in both Israel and Gaza?
With your permission, I just want to correct one thing that you said. It's not Mark Regev who says they're hiding behind civilians. Jackie, your correspondent on the ground in Gaza, just said it. She said she saw them firing a rocket out of the middle of the city of Gaza. In other words, they are exploiting the civilian population of Gaza as a human shield. To be fair,
she didn't actually say they were hiding behind civilians. She admitted that they had been launched from the centre of Gaza. She didn't say that there were civilians around there. She wouldn't know that.
The middle of a city, the middle of an urban area. Yeah, I think she said very clearly that they're shooting from the middle of Gaza City, which is a built-up urban area full of civilians, and that is a war crime. Okay, they shouldn't do that. That's against international law.
So given that,
to answer your question with your permission, I'll say the following.
Targeting the centre of Gaza City if the rocket launchers come from there. You are happy Israel is going to keep targeting the centre of Gaza City, where you, of course, know there are civilians.
But we will be as surgical as is humanly possible in a very difficult combat situation. But I don't think any member of the United Nations, not a single country on this planet, would sit by and see its civilian population targeted by these rockets and say we can't do anything because these terrible terrorists are shooting from a populated area. We will do everything that is humanly possible to avoid hitting civilians. We will target surgically as much as is humanly possible the Hamas terrorists. And we urge Gaza's civilians, if you're next to a facility which is being used by Hamas, move away from it, please. We don't see the people of Gaza as our enemy in many ways. As you said yourself, the people of Gaza are being used by Hamas. Hamas rules Gaza with an iron fist. They've destroyed all civil society there. They've destroyed democracy. They're trying to build a Taliban-type society. In many ways, they're not just the enemy of Israel. They're the enemy of every peace-loving Gazan.
OK. Are they the enemy of every peace-loving Arab in the Arab region? Because, of course, we saw the Egyptian Prime Minister go there this morning to voice his support for the Palestinians. We know the Tunisian Foreign Minister is going to be going there on Saturday. How concerned is Israel about the fact that Gazans and Palestinians are getting much more support this time around?
I'd say the following. Obviously, when you have a conflict between Israelis and Arabs, there's this sort of a natural tendency for people to unite, and I understand that. But I don't think there's a lot of love lost on Hamas, least of all with the people of Gaza. I mean, you've got to remember, Hamas is a very extreme and brutal terrorist organization. They took power in Gaza, as you recall, in a military coup. They threw out the legitimate government. As you know, the Palestinian president and his cabinet can't even visit Gaza. It's interesting, foreign leaders can visit, but the Palestinians' own leadership cannot visit there. They've thrown their opposition into jail. And instead of developing Gaza, instead of putting efforts into education and better jobs...
But what I'm saying is that despite what you are saying about Hamas as Israel, places like Egypt and Tunisia are, this time around, actively supporting Hamas, and that is different from the 2008-2009 war. You know, whatever you might think of Hamas, there are other nations with democratically elected governments, as they are now in Egypt, who are supporting Hamas.
I'd say the following, and I think it's important to be said. It's not just Israel that sees Hamas as a brutal terrorist organization. I said a moment ago, the European Union, Canada, Australia, the United States, Japan, all have classified Hamas as a terrorist organization. That's my first point. My second point is, I would ask everybody watching this program, from whichever country they live in, what government on this planet would sit by idly and see its civilian population targeted by terrorists across the frontier? What government would sit by and do nothing? I think what Israel is doing to protect our people who've been on the receiving ends of these rockets launched from Hamas-controlled Gaza is the most natural thing. This is legitimate self-defense. And if Hamas today is having a difficult time because of these Israeli strikes, they have no one else to blame but themselves, because they started this round, they started attacking and rocketing at our cities. Did they really expect us in Israel to sit back and ignore their continued attacks on our civilians?
OK, Mark Regev, we do have to leave it there. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed.